I'm going to start this evening's class. Child's pose, nice and easy. Try not to have the knees too far apart. I want to work into the back a little bit more. So once your hips have got down towards the floor, face off to bring your hands underneath your forehead. You don't have to sit absolutely solidly still. You can move around a little bit from side to side. Get a little bit of movement into the shoulders to help them settle down. Breathing a little restricted, just because we're lying over the top of the diaphragm. We'll be freeing that up in a moment. Just a chance to settle, let the day drift away a little bit. Start to bring the breath more under control. And we'll start to lift our way back up. We're going to come into hero's pose. You take the toes under version. So sitting back onto the heels and just stretching out the toes for a moment to see how the feet react to that. So if you've been spending the day with your feet tied up in shoes, you probably find that quite a strong stretch. If you're walking around in a pair of sandals or flip-flops, it might be a little easier. Now sit back down and tucking the toes, sitting right onto the heels. We'll work into the wrists a little bit. So we'll bring hands together, forearms together, and then roll one forearm over the top of the other so it starts to get a little wriggle into the wrists. We'll take that in the opposite direction as well. And then we'll release. And then we'll just start to move into the elbows a little bit, making some circles. And then the opposite way as well. The shoulders round a few times. In each way. Shake that all out a little bit. Take it into a surface stretch. We'll bring the right arm across the chest and just draw that through. Breath is emphasized in the back of the shoulder blades. Now release, cross it over to the opposite side. And release. Take the arms out. So fingers are pointing forwards, got a little bend in the elbows, and we're just going to squeeze the shoulder blades together so the hands come back. Bring them together, they touch. We open up, touch, and open up. We're trying to keep those elbows high, not quite as high as the shoulders, but sort of into that area. Just getting a nice gentle opening. Then we'll just swoop the hands forwards and up. And we'll swoop down as far back as you can. Inhale up, down, Roll them back. Nice. And we'll come up to the sky. Take it into a little twist over towards our left. Then the hands come down. Put the hands back up. Cross over to the opposite side. Inhale high. Use the exhale to come down. Try to keep the head in line with the rest of the spine. So avoid watching your fingertips come to the floor, as that generally drags your chin down to the ground a little bit. We'll come back to the ceiling again. Hands come to the floor, about all the way down into child's pose. Take a breath in towards the hands. Ease them over towards the right side of the mat. So taking the opportunity to just walk the left hand out half an inch or an inch further forwards. Get that bigger stretch down the side of your body. Emphasize the stretch with your breath. And take a little breath, lift the head up. Walk it across to the opposite side. And then take that right hand that inch further forwards. And come back to the center. Take a little breath from there and allow ourselves to lift up onto all fours. Let's bring the knees forwards, sitting the bottom down to the floor. Take the legs through. Allow ourselves to be a little closer towards the front of the mat. So as we roll down, there's plenty of room behind for that head to be on the mat. Wriggle out the shoulders a little bit and hips. And we'll bring the feet in towards the bottom. We're going to draw the left knee in, take the hands around the shin. Draw the belly button down, slide the right foot out along the center line. Take a little breath. Legs, the toes up towards the sky and spread them out. So lengthen the heel away. Try to lift the leg the smallest amount off of the ground that you can manage without it bumping back down to the floor. And then take another breath. Start to use the strength of my arms to draw that left knee towards my left armpit. And I'm going to release the leg and the foot to the floor. Slide the right leg in. Wiggle through the hips just to realign. Bring the right leg in, take the hands around the shin. Slide the left foot out. Again, just a tiny bit of internal rotation in the leg if your foot rolls out to the side. So that your toes can point towards the sky and spread. Draw the belly in and lift the leg that smallest fraction from the floor. Now we'll start to use the strength of the arms. to draw the right knee towards the right armpit. Try and keep your shoulders down. So it really is the arms doing the work, not pulling the shoulders up. Release the left foot to the floor, draw that in. And take the left knee towards your body and take the hands around the back of the thigh, interlacing the fingers. Sit the Padagasana. And slowly extend the heel up towards the sky above the hip. Again, the foot is flexed. Use the toes to walk the right foot away down the center line of the mat. Slide the heel for the last effort. Draw the belly in. Allow the leg to lift just that fraction again, just as we practiced before. You press the thigh actively into the hands, so I'm pushing the leg away from me. And drawing the hips down towards the floor. And reduce the amount of power in the body by bringing the foot to the floor and the leg back in. Shake out the fingers if you need to as we draw the right leg in. Take the hands around the back of the thigh, low down to the groin. Allow the leg to lengthen towards the sky. Use your toes again. Guide the left foot. Slide the heel out. Two strong legs. Toes point towards the sky. So internally rotate the inner thigh in if your feet tend to point out to the side a little bit. Press the heels out, draw the hips down. Now we'll let the leg drop, slide the foot in, release the left leg. Bring the feet in towards your bottom. Take your hands gently around the back of your head, just very light interlace with the elbows out nice and wide. Draw your spine down towards the floor in your lower back, particularly as you draw your belly in. Come up onto the tippy toes. Allow yourself to lift your knees then above your hips. Slowly extend both feet towards the sky, pointing the toes out, squeezing the thighs a little. You start to draw your chest towards your thighs, elbows out wide. And then allow yourself to take your hands past your legs. You're going to come into half boat. So letting the legs go down slowly. And we'll take the legs back up, drawing the chest towards your thighs. Let the hands come around the back of your head. Let your spine down to the floor. When your skull and your elbows touch the ground, allow yourself to bend your knees and bring your feet to the floor. Release the hands out from behind your head, sweep the arms out wide, and then gather yourself into a little hug. Bring your arms around your shins, and chin again and towards your chest. Little rock on the spine. Savor the moment. Take a little breath. Roll out onto the right side. Use the hands to come back down. So all fours at the front of the mat. Allow yourself to maraud a little bit from side to side. We'll lift up gently into our down dog. I'll tuck my shirt in first. Realize that's hanging out. It's going to end up around my ears all the way. So stepping your down dog out, you can take a little walk through. Now let ourselves move into a plank. Keeping the hips high. Push down into the floor with your hands. Press out through the heels. Keep your head in line with your body. Try and spread your shoulders wide. Use the knees down to the ground. Allow your elbows to come to the floor. Shoulder distance apart. Bring the hands together and interlace the fingers. Tucking the little finger underneath. Tuck the toes under. Allow yourself to lift your knees away from the floor into your dolphin pose. We'll come forwards into a plank. So far forwards, in fact, that we can touch the nose on the floor. Press back into the forearms and lift our way back into dolphin pose. Come forwards. Tap. And press back. We'll come forwards again. And tap. And lift the hips up and fire back. We'll come forwards. And back. And one more time. And back to down dog. Take a little breath and walk the hands towards the toes. So hopefully this time of the evening, hamstrings are a little bit more used to the idea of being opened up than they would be first thing in the morning. But always allow yourself to keep that little bit of bend in the knees to protect. Hands onto the hips, shoulders and elbows back, soften the knees a little more. Let ourselves lift up. Bring the hands in towards your heart. Take a breath. Zigzag your toes together. You're going to load the weight into the left foot. Slowly draw your right knee high and forwards. Bring the heel in towards your bottom. Your right hand come down. Find your ankle and draw your heel in towards your buttock. Start to draw your knee down towards the floor. Squeeze the thighs together if you can. And tilt the back of your tailbone down towards the floor. So your pivot bone comes forwards a little bit. Your knee will travel forwards, so you'll have to bring your knee further back to bring it back in line with your knee. If that moves your pelvis, you tilt your pelvis again. You get this little bit of contraction going on. And then the knees down towards the floor. Once you've got all that sorted, you take the left hand up towards the sky. Release the foot back down to the floor. Shake out that leg a little bit. Bring the feet together again. Find your focus point. Hands in towards your heart. Start to lean gently to the right leg. Carefully lift the knee. Find your balance point. Bring the heel in towards your bottom. Hand goes down, find your ankle. Knee can go down towards the floor. Heel in towards your bottom. Bring the thighs together and try and line the knees up. Tilt through the pelvis. So that pivot bone forwards a little bit. Knee down towards the floor. However many times you need to do that to get the position you think you're able to. And then we can bring the right hand towards the sky. There is a sense of pulling the knee down towards the ground a little bit. Can feel strong around the joint of the knee, even though we've done a little kneeling already. And then we can release. Shake that out again. Bring the feet together again, hands in towards the heart, find your focus point. Come into tree pose. I'm going to load into the left leg. Use the heel onto the ankle to turn the toes out to the side and square the hips again to the front of the mat. So your foot, your knee, your hips and your shoulders, and hopefully your eyes are all pointing in the same direction. If you load the weight into your leg and press down, you can shift your foot onto the side of your shin and the calf. Then we'll take it a little further and lift the knee out to the side and bring the heel into the top of the groin. Move your trousers around a little bit. Now you can take the arms out to the side. Easier said than done. Allow yourself to have a little bend in the elbows. You can take a breath. And you're going to see if you can tap your right elbow to your right knee. You're going to lift your knee towards you, so your foot comes away. Whoops. And maybe you'll fall out, maybe you won't. But if you can, hold it in a little scrunch and then bring yourself back. And we'll bring the hands back down to the floor. So tree pose, we're only holding it for a little while. And load into the opposite side. Heel, toes out. Steady yourself. We know where we're going, but we don't need to rush. Slide the foot to the shin and the calf. Take a moment, catch our breath, catch our balance. Allow ourselves to bring the foot into the top of the groin. The arms go out wide. Drop the elbows a little bit. Let the palms face up towards the sky. You take that little breath again. You're going to start to drop your left elbow towards your left knee and then try to take your foot away and bring your knee to touch your elbow. Side scrunch. And then we can bring the foot back down to the floor and shake it out. Let ourselves walk into the front of the mat. Take the feet apart. Hands up towards the sky on the breath in. Bring the hands through. Hinge at the hips, soften the knees a little. Let the hands come to the floor. Take a breath. Soften the knees as if we're sitting down into a chair that isn't there. Allow yourself to take your hands forwards. Hopefully your ribs and your thighs are touching. You can just lay your arms out more or less in line with your body. Hands are wider than the shoulders. Hopefully the knees are the same distance apart as your feet. Now try and keep your bottom there, but lift your body halfway up. So your bottom more or less stays in the same place. And you sit into the heels a little. And the thighs fire up. Almost there, last breath. Bring the hands in towards your heart, legs off. Open the legs, keep the spine long, and then fold at the hips. And down to the floor we go. We'll take a breath. And we'll send the right foot to the back of the mat and drop the heel to the center line. Ready for our warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the body, lift. Float the right arm forwards. Draw ourselves up. On the fifth breath, we'll bring the hands high. And extend out over the front thigh and down to the floor. Spin the back foot, stepping into a down dog and adjust the feet. Come forwards into plank. We'll take half plank laces down. Inhale to up dog, roll the shoulders back, opening the chest. Roll over the toes, back into down dog. We'll take the scissor to the right leg, draw the knee in towards the body, come through for the lunge, onto the fingertips, lowering the hips, strong back leg presses out. Take a breath, push off the toes into that forward bend, loosen the thighs and knees. Hands under the hips, and we lift up. Hands in towards the heart. Allow yourself to fold down to the floor. Back into the chair. Take the hands away from the ground, out in front, palms in. Try to lift your body halfway. Hands into the heart. Open the legs. Dive forwards and down. Take a breath. Left leg back, drop the heel in. Warrior two. Hands alongside the body. Float up through our cartwheel. Adjust if you need to. And on the fifth breath, we inhale high and out towards the front of the mat. Stepping back into our down dog. We'll come forwards into the plank, half plank. Inhale up, roll the shoulders back. Into our down dog. Exhale. Breath in, scissoring the left leg. Use the exhale to bring the foot through to the front of the mat into your lunge. Use the exhale into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift. Bring hands in towards the heart. Take a breath. Exhale down to the floor. Sit back into the chair. Ribs and thighs touch. We take the hands away from the ground. Take a breath and we lift halfway on the exhale. Hands into the heart, legs open, down to the fold. Take a breath, right foot to the back of the mat. We'll come into high crescent on this, so we'll bring hands both alongside the body. Take the hands forwards in line, hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Press the tailbone down, bend the back knee a little. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring the hands to the ground. Take a little breath. Drop the heel in for warrior two. Hands alongside your body. Right arm comes up. Inhale high. Out towards the front of the mat and down. We're stepping back to our dog. Come forwards on the breath. Push forwards on the tiptoes. Half plank to up dog. Keep those elbows tucked in. To our down dog. The scissor, right leg, knee through into the lunge. Push off the toes. Exhale into the fold. Hands onto the hips, soft knees, and flat back to lift. Hands to the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Go back into the chair. Inhale the hands forwards. Use the exhale to come up halfway. Into the heart. Open the legs, hinge forwards and down. Take a breath. Left leg back into lunge. Come into high crescent again. Hands alongside the body. Lift a little. Extend the hands out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tailbone down, lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hands to the ground, drop in the back heel, warrior 2. Allow yourself to float gently up. Inhale the hands high. Lengthen out over that front leg and down. Step back to the dog. Come forwards. Half plank. Up dog, strong legs. Allow ourselves to roll gently back. Down dog. Scissor. Left leg. Knee towards the chest. Foot through for the lunge. And step in to the fold. Hands onto the hips. We'll let ourselves lift. Hands to the heart. Take a breath in. Fold to the floor. Back into the chair. Inhale the hands forwards. Exhale halfway up. Hands to the heart. Hinge forwards and down to the ground. Take a breath. Right foot back into the lunge. High crescent again. Hands come alongside the body. The body lifts a little and we float out. Hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tailbone down to lift. Drop the hands behind the back of your head, elbows out wide. Take a breath. Let your knee come almost to the floor. 1. Lift back up. 2. Down again. 3. 4. And 5. Hands to the ground. Drop the back heel in. Hands alongside the body to open up into warrior 2. Hands come high. Out towards the front of the mat and down. Stepping back into our dog. Come forwards into the plank. Half plank. So up dog. Down dog. Scissor the right leg. Lean towards the chest and foot through. Take a little breath. Allow yourself to step forwards. We'll take a breath, hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift. Hands to the heart. One more breath in. Hinge down to the floor. Soften the knees into the chair. Hands come forwards, breath in. Use an exhale to lift. Take a few breaths here. Hands into the heart. Down to the floor. Left leg back. Crescent pose. Again, hands alongside the body. Lift the chest a little, extend the hands out. Keep your front leg over that ankle. 2, 3, 4, 5. Tailbone down to lift. Hands behind the head. Take the breath. Exhale down, knee to the floor almost. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hands to the ground. Drop the back heel in. Warrior 2 for the lift. Breath in. Send the hands high. Right to the front as you exhale down. Go back into your dog. Inhale to plank. Half plank. Up dog. To down dog. Move the left leg. Draw it through. Into lunge. And step into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips. We let ourselves lift. Hands into the heart. A little bit of a pause here. Different type of vinyasa coming up. We hinge at the hips and down on the exhale. Sit back into the chair. Hands come forwards. Take a breath in, use the exhale to come halfway. Hands to the heart. Open the legs and hinge down to the floor. Take a breath and take the right foot to the back of the mat and drop the heel in. This time we'll bring the hands alongside the body to lift up into Warrior 2. As we arrive, we'll extend out over the front thigh. Forearm comes onto the groin. We'll take the top arm up. We'll windmill this arm around. Slowly, following the breath. There is weight in the back foot, and we're trying to lift the body off of this front thigh, so the body is doing the lifting. Well, allow ourselves to come up to Warrior 2. Straighten the front leg, turn the hips towards the back of the mat, lengthen out into triangle pose. One hand high. We'll take the rear hand around towards the top of the front leading leg thigh. If your fingers don't quite reach, placing the palm of your hand to the base of your spine works just as well. Primarily, we're trying to roll the chest along the side of the mat and draw the shoulders a little bit behind us. So it's just freeing up that top shoulder a fraction. We'll soften the front knee, come back into our Warrior 2. Take the hands high once you've balanced through your pelvis, and bring the hands down onto the inside of this front foot. We'll walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat, toes in, heels out. Spine is long and flat. Take a breath, hinge at the hips, and let ourselves fold. Press into the feet, lift the hips high, relax the shoulders out to the side edges. your way up halfway. Turn your heels in once, toes in once, heels in once. Bring your hands onto your thighs as you lower your buttocks down to about the level of your knees. They can be higher, but you don't really want to go lower than that. Now send your tailbone down. Allow yourself to lift your arms out. Bend at the elbows. Squeeze the shoulder blades together a little. Draw the tummy muscles in. Try and press your pubic bone forwards. Let the hands come back down again. We'll hinge at the hips, turn the toes in, heels out, fold in again. And as you lift up, walk the fingers around to the front end of the mat. We'll take a little breath and step into the forward bend. Bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees and let ourselves lift. I've traveled a little from the front of the mat, so I'll step back. Hands into the heart. Take a little moment. Now we'll fold forwards again. Soften the knees and sit into our chair. Inhale the hands away from the floor. Exhale, come up halfway. Hands into the heart. Allow ourselves to hinge down to the floor. Stepping the left leg back this time. Dropping the heel in. Hands alongside the body and lift up into our warrior two. Take a breath as you arrive. Use your exhale to extend down. Forearm onto the front thigh. We take the top arm up and start to make our windmills. As you draw your hand towards the back of the mat, let yourself to lift again into your warrior two. Take a breath, straighten the front leg, hips go back, move gently into our triangle pose. Wrap that top arm around. Soften the front knee, come back to warrior two. Neutral through the pelvis, then we can take the hands high. Down onto the inside of the front leg. Walk the fingers around to the long side again. Toes in, heels out. Long spine, take a breath, and allow yourself to fold down. Press the feet down, hips high. Loosen the shoulders a little bit. Lifting our way up on an exhale. Turn the heels in, toes in, heels in. Drop your bottom down. Bring your hands onto your thighs. Have a little wriggle around. Get into a nice position. Tailbone down. Put the arms out wide. Little bend in the elbows. Palms forwards. Draw the shoulder blades back a little bit. Imagine you're trying to lean into a wall. Hands down. Make yourself to open the legs, turn the heels out. Forward the hips down to the floor. Take a breath. Fold in deep. Inhale on the way back up. Walk the fingers through to the front of the mat. Take a breath. And this time we'll step back into down dog. Bring the knees to the floor. Sit onto the heels. And bring the hands in towards our heart. Take a moment again. Either it's a bit warm and muggy this evening, or this is a little bit toasty and warm as a class plan. Can't quite make my mind up which it is. Might be a bit of both. I certainly feel the heat radiating out of my body. Take a breath. Start to bring the hands back in towards the front of the mat. You can allow the shoulders to come over the wrists. Take the feet back, about hip distance apart into a plank. Then take a breath and take the right knee to the right elbow tricep and come back into the plank. Then I'll do the same to the left and back into the plank. Right knee and back into the plank. Left knee to the plank. Right knee to the plank. To the left, to the plank. To the right, to plank. To the left, plank, right, left, getting tired, right, and left. Whew. Into your down dog. Come into your plank, knees to the floor. Couple of rounds of cat-cow. Last round. In tabletop, I'll take the right hand higher, up towards the sky, opening the chest. I'm going to thread the needle through, drop the shoulder in to the floor. Take a little breath, press down through the bottom shoulder. As long as it's connecting to the ground, you can release your left hand towards the sky. 12 o'clock. Pressing down into that bottom shoulder. Look after your neck. Last breath in. Hands to the floor. Press back. Tabletop. Take the left hand up. Breath in. Fold that down and under and through. So make sure that shoulder is in contact with the ground. Wriggle around. And then if it actually lands and you can press down, you can lift the top hand up. Otherwise, you stay with a hand on the floor. Look after your neck a little bit more. Bring the hand back down to the ground. Press your weight. We'll spin the feet out to the side, grab the block, place it underneath, let the legs out in front. sitting tall and just wriggling through the sitting bones a little bit. Bring the right heel into the groin, knee out to the side, square the hips, little bend in the front knee. So press down into this thigh. This foot is flexed on the inside of the groin. Space in the spine, roll the shoulders back. Allow yourself to bring your ribs onto your thigh, then your chest to your knee, and then finally let your head follow the line of your spine. See if you can take your hands towards the front foot, holding either the sole of the foot or the ankle of your body. Start to draw your arms towards the back of the mat a little bit. So you're going to feel your shoulders move in that direction, your elbows a little bit as well. And you feel that extra bit of stretch into the legs. Hopefully your lower back doesn't feel that. If it does, let yourself release. Keep the belly drawn. One more breath, release. On the exhale, come up. Cross into the second side, square up. The bend in the knee. Hands on the shin. Wait for space to develop. And when we feel settled, belly onto the thigh. And the chest towards the knee. Head towards the shin. Hands towards the thigh. Allow yourself to draw gently. It's really kind of an intention of your shoulder blades moving towards the end of the mat. We can release all the way back up. Take both legs out. We'll bring the right leg underneath and out towards the left hip. So that knee's pointing forwards now and down on the floor. So bring the left leg across. Going to allow the right arm to go through towards the left side and act as a little cantilever. I'll take the left hand towards the back of the mat in line with the hip. Draw the pelvis forwards a little bit as if you're trying to bring your belly button towards the front of the mat, but at the same time keeping the belly drawn to the spine. So it's the pelvis that moves rather than your belly button. Come into the opposite side. And then release. Come down to the ground. I'm just going to move the block out to the side for the moment. Hands behind, chin to chest, to support yourself as you roll down to the floor. A nice long spine. Now walk your heels towards you so it feels like your heels are underneath your knees and about the same distance apart, a little more than the hips. Wiggle the arms really close in towards your body, palms down, and then the shoulders underneath. We're going to take a breath in, allow the hips to lift up towards the sky. And hold that bridge pose for about 30 seconds or so. And try and press the hips gradually towards the ceiling, knees towards the front of the mat. Let the chest move towards your chin. Hopefully you can feel your buttocks working in tandem with your thighs and your hamstrings. Last breath in. Roll the spine all the way back down to the floor. We're going to make our way into Shavasana. If you wanted to take a happy baby, which briefly you could do for about 30 seconds or 5 long breaths once you're in position. You can slide the heels out to the corner edges of the mat if you're ready to come into Shavasana with me. And I'm going to use the block behind the head, mostly so that it's not such a lift for me to look up at the clock. So if I had the choice and I was in a class, I would be head flat to the ground, but it is a personal choice then. I'm going to wriggle the toes out, the fingers, shoulders, hips. Allow that sort of small arc in the lower back to start to sink down and relax. As I loosen my jaw, close my eyes, and just focus on some really slow breathing. Body's done enough. It only needs to be still. We'll begin to stretch those fingers and toes. Now the wrists and ankles to move as well. Deepen the breath a few times, really connect back to the whole of your body. When you're ready, allow yourself to use an exhale to stretch out in any way that feels productive and intuitive and comforting. And then we'll slowly slide the heels along the ground towards us. Ease the knees in towards the body. And I'm going to take the hands around the shins for the lightest of hugs. Take a little breath from there and roll onto the right side. Use the hands to go over to that side of the mat as well. Press away from the ground and lift up very slowly. Wonderful. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Close our eyes as we take a breath in. On the exhale, allow yourself to drop your chin. And in the belly drawn to the spine, simply bow to the floor, sealing your practice for the evening. On the inhale, allow the head to lift, eyes open. Namaste. Have a glorious weekend. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the mat again soon.